These are the brand new 2025 JTR Noses 210 HT home theater speakers. And in this video, we're gonna take a first look and then I'm gonna give you my impressions. All right, so these are brand new for 2025. As I said earlier, these are the brand new 210 HT home theater speakers from JTR. And firstly, I'd like to thank Jeff Permanian for sending these speakers out to me for review. This is my first time having JTR in my theater, and I can't wait to experience them. But before we get into the first impressions, let's go over the specs. The NOEISIS 210 HT is a two-way loudspeaker equipped with two 10-inch woofers in a sealed enclosure, combined with an ultra high-end compression driver fitted on a large wooden horn with a 60 by 60 coverage pattern. The frequency response is 60 Hz to 20 kHz plus or minus 3 dB. The sensitivity is 95 decibels. Usable output is 128 decibels. Recommended amplification is up to 2000 watts RMS. And the impedance is 4 ohm. The speaker dimensions are 34 inches high by 12.25 inches wide by 14 inches deep. And the speakers weigh 85 pounds. All right, next let's talk about build quality. So these are very industrial, heavy duty speakers. And I say industrial because they have that kind of industrial look, but these things are absolutely solid. Now, as you guys know, if you follow the channel, I have Arendal speakers, all Arendal speakers in my home theater. And those are some of the best built speakers that I've ever seen. These might even go a step further, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. But I know a lot of people say they don't really like the look of JTR speakers because they don't, like I said, they kind of look like industrialized. Maybe they think it doesn't look modern. I actually love the way that these speakers look. From, you know, the build quality to the paint, to the drivers, to the horn. These things are just built like a tank, and you know, you may not like the look of it, but you're not gonna find many other speakers that are built like this that have the output that these things have. So these speakers are made out of Baltic birch, which is many times stronger and more expensive than MDF. So again, you're getting some of the best built speakers on the market. All right, so let's talk about some of the new features that Jeff has added to these 2025 models. Now, I've got my phone here because there's a lot and I wouldn't remember it all. But new updates. So there's a new crossover design, and you've got new woofers. So you've got these 10-inch woofers here. So these things are going to get pretty loud. I already knew that these were going to get much louder than my Arendals. And for those of you people that are going to be asking the question, which ones sound better, the Arendals or the JTR? Honestly, that's not a fair comparison. One, the cabinet is much bigger than my Arendals. The drivers are bigger. I believe my Arendals have 6.5-inch woofers. These have 10-inch drivers. So I'm not going to do like a dedicated video where I compare the two, but I can tell you right now, and I'll talk a little bit more about this later, these things are going to play a lot louder and a lot more efficient. But we'll get to that in a minute. So new crossover design, new woofers, lower distortion. You've got improved sound. These are now point source. So sound from all the drivers are time aligned and appear to come from the same location. So this is kind of similar probably to what SVS did with their new speakers. They have them time aligned. So everything coming from this speaker should hit your ears at the exact same time. So we've also got the horn loaded down to 1200 Hertz crossover point. You've got a wooden horn which provides even coverage and amazing imaging. You've got a symmetrical horn and low crossover points for best power response. High excursion woofers with 13.5mm X-Max each way. So these things are going to be moving. You've got a heavily braced cabinet, massive binding posts that accept up to 2-gauge wire, which is some super thick wire. When I first saw these binding posts, I was like, whoa, I think these might be some of the biggest binding posts that I've ever seen. But, you know, that gives you versatility where you can basically, you know, run whatever cable, whatever length that you need to these things, and, you know, it's going to fit. These speakers have a completely front-firing, versatile installation. You've got magnetically attached grills, just like that. You've got quality polypropylene capacitors and quality perfect lay inductors. All right, so those are some of the specs that I wanted to give you guys because these are new speakers for 2025. So I just wanted to kind of give you a rundown of all the new features that Jeff has included in these speakers. Now, let me tell you about my first impressions. Okay, so full disclosure, I have 3 of these speakers for left, center, and right. Currently, I only have 2 speakers hooked up, and it's probably going to stay like that for a few weeks. And the reason is because my center channel stand, as I said, these speakers are much bigger than my Arendal speakers. And when I flip it on its side for the center channel, it's going to be 4 inches into the screen from where my current Arendal speaker is. My Arendal speaker on the stand is perfect. I think there's a couple of millimeters before it starts, casting a shadow on the screen. So I'm gonna have to hold off on that because I'm gonna have to buy a brand new center channel stand, and the ones that I have are pretty expensive, and I've got other stuff that I need to focus on right now. So I'm gonna run these basically in 2 channel with the rest of my system. I'm gonna have the Arendal speaker here in the middle for the time being. I don't have any measurements yet, and I will save that for when I actually do a review of the speakers. This video isn't a review, this is just a first look and giving you my first impressions. But I have 3 of these. Currently, I only have 2 hooked up. And as I said before, I already knew that these speakers were going to play much louder than my Arendal speakers. What I wasn't expecting was how much more detail and clarity there is in these speakers. And we always talk about that, right? I guess you could even call those buzzwords, detail and clarity. But that's what we look for in home theater, because we have these these audio tracks, these audio mixes that are so high fidelity now. We want to hear the absolute most that we can coming from our Dolby Atmos, DTS-X, RO3 movies. So I'm also running these without any room correction. I wanted to listen to them first without doing anything to them, just to see how they sound. And then I want to kind of just do a mental comparison, which I may talk about in the review, of how they sound after they're calibrated. So I will run REW, and I'm having some issues still, but I've got somebody that's going to help me with that. And then, I'll probably run Dirac on the whole system once I get the center channel installed. But when I first hooked these speakers up, immediately, and I mean immediately, I could tell how much more these speakers are, how much more detailed these speakers are than my Arendals. And I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting better sound quality, obviously, bigger driver, better quality. The Arendals are no slouch. Those are made with HDF, which is better than MDF. But these Baltic Birch, and I believe these are like 80 or 85 pounds. I'll put that up on the screen if I didn't say it already. But you've got bigger drivers, so it's going to play louder. And you've got this massive horn here. So I already knew that it was going to play louder. What I wasn't expecting was the amount of detail that I was hearing in the movies that I was watching, like immediately. And again, no room correction, nothing. I was blown away. And I love Arendal. I'm an Arendal fanboy. But I got to say, these speakers, and before I go on, for anybody that has Arendal, I'm not crapping on Arendal. Obviously, I have Arendal. So don't be offended because I'm saying that these speakers sound better than the Arendals. I got the sense that some people in the comments when I posted the post about this speaker, I feel like some people were a little bit butthurt. I don't know if they have Arendal, but it is what it is. So yeah, these speakers, I was very impressed with how they sounded. I watched your standard scenes. I put on the scenes that I'm always familiar with, that I always use. Ready Player One, Doom Part 2. I watched Godzilla -1, some scenes from that, and I watched some Cloverfield scenes. And I kid you not, I was hearing things that I didn't hear before. And I was like, okay, I'm kind of used to that, because every time that I've made an upgrade, whether it's a processor or speakers, it has been an upgrade. So I'm hearing stuff and I'm like, oh, I don't remember hearing that before. Or I've heard this stuff before, but now it sounds a lot more detailed, a lot more crisp on the high end. And yeah, so these things can play much, much louder than my Arendals. Loud enough, my ears are going to give out long before these speakers give out. So I haven't even cranked this thing up, and I'm kind of afraid to because I don't want to damage my hearing. But these things can play loud. And I was actually surprised with the, just running these two as left and right with my Arendal speakers. They didn't drown out the Arendal too much, but there are a few scenes, a few movies where it's apparent that these speakers are playing a lot louder than my Arendal center channel. So it'll be interesting when I get this installed in the center channel as well, and I have, you know, my LCR. I think it's going to be crazy in here. But the detail is phenomenal. The detail's phenomenal, the clarity's phenomenal, the top end is phenomenal. Like, these things just, they don't distort. And I've heard JTR in home theater rooms, and obviously at like M-Wave 2 years in a row. So those are different settings, and those are different circumstances, different rooms. So I knew how it sounded, but I was curious to see how they sounded in my space with, you know, acoustic treatment, proper acoustic treatment and stuff like that. And I also just added some diffusers on the sides, and I think that actually helped a little bit too. I mean, I noticed some differences before I even installed these, but I'm just blown away by these speakers. I don't think I'll ever upgrade my entire system again for a long, long time. If I ever did, I know what speaker I'd be upgrading to, and it's these 210 HT speakers. They're just amazing. Another thing that I noticed is that I was getting so much more bass in the room. It kind of evened out even more, the bass in my room. Obviously, like, and it wasn't overwhelming to where it's like, oh, the front end is just completely overwhelming everything else now. No, it wasn't like that. But instantly, all the movie tracks that I watched, it was punchier. It was more guttural. There was, I wouldn't say it was more visceral, but there just seems to be a lot more punch now. And man, it's pretty incredible what two of these can do without running any type of room correction or anything on that. So yeah, this is just going to be a quick video, my first impressions. Again, I've only had these installed for about a week, and I haven't watched too much content, but the stuff that I have watched has just been phenomenal. I can't wait to watch more movies, like full-length movies, and then once I actually get room correction on these things, I mean, they sound pretty good already. I don't even really want to run room correction on them, but I will do it just so I can see how they sound, you know, before and after. And then, like I said, for the actual video review, you know, I'll try to take some measurements with REW if I can get it working. But yeah, so again, brand new speakers from JTR 210 HT. I'm impressed. And I know you guys that are watching this that have JTR, I'm sure you guys are impressed. So go ahead and let me know down in the comments if you plan on upgrading to these speakers. I'll leave some links in the description. And I guess that's going to be it for this video. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and stay tuned for the full review.